Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, 3 Topics Gamer, here to give you my official movie review for my most anticipated movie of 2019, Joker. Now, this movie was directed by Todd Phillips and stars Joaquin Phoenix and Robert De Niro. And before we jump into my review, I would really appreciate if you give this video a thumbs up and press that subscribe button to help spread and grow the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Now, before I get into my review, I'd just like to say, the media has been going absolutely crazy over this film, saying all sorts of negative press about how this movie is evil, how it promotes violence, and how people shouldn't see it, and how it's going to inspire people to become psycho killers. And I'm sure the media just hopes someone goes crazy and does another shooting or something and says, oh, see, it was because of this movie, because of how violent and how evil it is, how no one should see it, and how it should never exist. Well, I'm here to tell you, all of these reports are complete and utter BS. This movie, in no sense, promotes violence. It is not even a quarter as violent as they are saying. In fact, if anything, I was shocked how little violence there was. I mean, I have seen several action movies this year that have 10 times as much violence as they are in this film. And I would even say that some of the deaths in this film, some you don't even see, and a few of them I would say are justified. So if you have any fears that this movie is going to somehow turn you into some sort of psychopath, trust me, I think you're good. Now, going into the plot before going into spoilers, pretty much this movie revolves around the character of Arthur, and he plays as pretty much a party clown. However, his life has been horrible since he was a kid to his adulthood, and things just continue to get worse and worse and worse. And after a series of terrible events that just continue his long, terrible, sad story, it ultimately leads him to making a realization about something about his past, and this leads him down a very, very dark path into making a somewhat metabolic transformation into becoming the character who is called Joker. Now, he never actually calls himself Joker, but someone else gives him that name, and that's really all I want to say about the plot. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm going to get the negatives out of the way because this movie is not perfect, and there are a few tiny issues that I had with the movie, but it did not at all ruin my enjoyment of this film. Now, for one, I think a weak point of this film is the use of the cast members, and I'm saying outside of Joaquin Phoenix, because he is absolutely phenomenal. His performance in this film is just truly spectacular. But I would say that for the rest of the cast members, they're either not really given much to do, they're not given nearly as much time, or they're not really as significant to the plot as I had expected. And that's kind of bad because as great as it is to have a great main character, he can't really elevate himself without a great supporting cast. And it's not to say the supporting cast is bad, I just wish that they had been used a little bit more. I mean, I really think that this movie could have used an extra 10-15 minutes to establish the relationship that he has with other characters, because I just think that the relationships they do try to establish are just too quick, or he happens to mention things that we never actually get to see. There's that. Number two, I felt this movie didn't quite have a middle section. It just felt that from the very, very beginning, it starts off kind of badly, and that just continues on until he finally makes his transformation. But by the time that transformation happens, we're already at the third act, and the movie's going to be over maybe in 20-25 minutes tops. And this is like a 2-hour and 2 long movie, so I was a little bit curious as for why it took so long to get to that point. I kind of wish it had happened sooner, and we got to see him transformed a little bit longer. It's still effective, but I just wish we'd had a little bit more time, or if this had happened maybe 10 or 15 minutes sooner than it actually did. And I think the final issue that I think this movie made is that I don't think it did a good enough job at closing all the endpoints, because there is a lot of setup for this film. And I've heard from several points that the director says, and even Joaquin Phoenix says, that this is a one-time film. They do not plan on making any more sequels after this. But they just leave so much open that I'm afraid that the studios, if this movie is successful enough, is going to want to make a sequel. And that's my concern. And that's really just all the main negatives that I have, but they're very, very small. Other than that, I would say that everything else about this film is great. Again, Joaquin Phoenix's performance as the Joker is absolutely phenomenal. I love his transformation. I love the cinematography. I like the choice of locations. I love the score that they used. I even liked some of the comedy. I was surprised how much I actually laughed. I did not expect it for this type of film. And above all things, this movie did not feel like a comic book movie at all. I'm kind of tired and sick of people saying that this is a comic book movie. This does not feel like a comic book movie at all. And the last time I saw a film like this just so happened to be The Dark Knight. I do not call The Dark Knight a comic book movie. That is simply a very intense crime drama that just so happens to have comic book characters placed in its story. And you could say the same thing about this. I mean, if this movie had not been called Joker, you could have called it Happy Clown or Crazy Clown or just Clown. This still would have been an incredible film without any connection to a comic book character. Just his transformation into who he will be is already a thought-provoking movie with an excellent performance. And I also love how Todd Phillips went out of his way to actually have a message for the film. And I love when directors take their time to actually show how much our society is relatable to this film. And in character-wise, there's a number of things that I could actually relate to Arthur as a character. I mean, we all have had bad moments in our lives, and and at least for me personally, I could certainly see a little bit of myself in his tragedy. And there were a number of things that he does in this film that, I'm gonna be honest, if I was in his position at that particular moment, I feel he was justified in some of his actions, and I probably would have ended up doing the same thing. Now, I'm not saying that I support killing, because killing is never wrong, but I'm just saying in certain situations, he is a victim. He is a victim of his circumstances, and I think that Todd Phillips did an incredible job at portraying that and making sure to tell a story that is very, very relatable and almost connects to our own real world. And so the fact that this movie takes a number of serious issues very, very seriously and presents that to the front, I think is absolutely incredible. There was a number of twists, a number of directions, and even story elements that even I was not expecting. And that kept me really on the edge of my seat from beginning to end. Now again, this movie is not nearly as violent as some people would say, but it still is probably the most thought-provoking film that I have seen in some years. And unlike other comic book movies that I have seen over the last years in which it kind of goes in one year and out the other, to the point where about a week later I'm going to forget all about it, this is a movie I'm absolutely going to be still thinking about a month, a year, several years from now. This absolutely lived up to all of the hype. I'm happy I picked this as my most anticipated movie of the year, and I really do hope the Oscars show this movie respect. Even if it doesn't win any awards, I think it should get the respect it deserves, at least giving some serious nominations. So if I had to give Joker a rating, I have no choice but to give it an A. Simply an A. Not quite an A+, a couple little flaws that hold it back, but this is still the best movie that I have seen this year, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in seeing it. However, if you do have kids, I would seriously think about it before seeing this film, because it is not a very, very fun film. It does have its brutal moments, but it's very, very minor. So those are my thoughts on Joker. If you happen to see it, I really would like to share your thoughts in the comments down below, but make sure you keep it no spoilers alone, because I really want people to go into this movie as fresh as possible. And if you haven't already, be sure to press one of the links in the description down below so you can follow me on all of my social media outlets. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.